Blue-green algae identified in Lake Scugog. Dan Kearns, The Standard, Scugog. The Region of Durham's Health Department has announced the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks has found the presence of blue-green algae in Lake Scugog. The press release, dated Thursday, July 18th, states the sample was taken from the lake near Platten Island. In the summer months, as weather conditions vary, there may be more occurrences of blue-green algae throughout Lake Scugog and other bodies of surface water in Durham Region. While there is currently no evidence of blue-green algae at Kinsman Beach, due to the history of blue-green algae at Kinsman Beach and the fact blue-green algae has been observed in another part of the lake, the Health Department will be posting advisory signs at Kinsman Beach as a precaution, the Health Department wrote. The Health Department also advised people if they observe algae mats, which may be blue-green, olive-green, or red in color, they are advised not to enter the water in the surrounding area, as some can produce toxins which may be harmful to humans and pets. The Health Department also asks residents not to use the lake as a source of drinking water. Kinsman Beach is one of the 7 Durham Region beaches the Health Department has posted an unsafe for swimming notification in, as of Monday, July 15th. Beaverton South Beach, Thorus Centennial Park, Paradise Beach, and Iroquois Beach are some of the others. The Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority's website explains blue-green algae are microscopic, plant-like organisms which occur naturally in ponds, rivers, lakes, and streams. They are not actually a type of algae, but a bacteria known as cyanobacteria. Normally, blue-green algae are not visible in the water, but when conditions are favorable, algal populations can rapidly increase to form a large mass in the water, called a bloom. Blooms are commonly found near docks and shoreline areas in the late summer and early autumn. They thrive in areas where the water is shallow, slow-moving, and warm, but they may be present in deeper, cooler water. Dense blue-green algae blooms may make the water look bluish-green, like green pea soup or turquoise paint. Very dense blooms may form solid-looking clumps. Fresh blooms often smell like newly mown grass, while older blooms may smell like rotting garbage, the website adds. Community publishers deserve say. As the second-generation owner of a community newspaper in Ontario, I care deeply about the future of local news in Canada. My late father, Bill Adsett, founded the Wellington Advertiser back in 1968. He once had the option to save money by removing delivery to a small portion of Wellington County. He refused to do so, out of principle, to ensure every citizen in Wellington County had access to the news and information contained in his paper. Local newspapers in communities like mine have been challenged by several factors. The Internet has democratized information and made it much more abundant, but that can make it hard for consumers of information to separate real news from fake news. Where local papers like ours and radio stations competed and reaped a pretty good profit, today companies like Google, Meta, and Amazon dominate, and the economics of the news business is challenged. As a small C conservative, I generally don't like the idea of government intervention in the economy. But I recognize sometimes government needs to step in when a market isn't functioning. That's why I supported the Online News Act. Big U.S.-based companies like Google and Meta have been benefiting from the content our journalists produce, yet they weren't paying for it. As a reaction, when News Media Canada, which represents big publishers like the Globe and Mail, Postmedia, and Torstar, and mom-and-pop publishers, which are much smaller than my own operation, started making noise about the need to force these tech companies to pay us, the big online platforms started cutting content licensing deals with the big publishers. Smaller community publishers like me didn't think that was fair. To their credit, the big publishers agreed we needed legislation to lift all boats in order to have a healthy news media ecosystem right across Canada. Of course, they too would benefit from a legislative framework which would guarantee payment for content rather than just hoping these companies would renew their deals. So we pushed the parliamentarians to do something about it. What they came up with was the Online News Act, which will see Google paying news businesses $100 million annually. There are those today who seem to want to pit new digital native publishers against legacy media. They argue policies like the Online News Act only benefits large publishers. That gets the backup of community news publishers like me. They say we're dinosaurs who can't innovate. They say we're holding on to the past with our print product. A smart publisher in a large market, like La Presse, can make the leap successfully from a printed newspaper to a digital online product. Scale and audience are limited in smaller markets. The price of programmatic advertising has tanked so dramatically in recent years You cannot make a buck covering local news well from digital advertising alone. On the other hand, our print ads from the local car dealer and local real estate agents keep the lights on and allow us to invest back in the business. Local print ads allow publishers, like me, to cover everything from the cops, courts, city hall to celebrations. We don't simply take a news release from any of those institutions at face value. We gather facts, we research, we interview people to get multiple perspectives. Our stories are fact-based, and they are fact-checked. We don't do clickbait carousels. We do real news. It may not be Woodward and Bernstein covering Watergate, but we hold the power to account in Wellington County, and we are awfully proud of that. By the way, the vast majority of smaller publishers have had websites for decades, and there just isn't enough revenue to sustain them without print. For reasons unknown to me, Google has decided to award the administration of the proceeds from the Online News Act to a single collective made up largely of digital native publishers. Looking at the composition of the board, Lana Payne, head of Unifor, has expressed concern that 6 of the directors of the Canadian Journalism Collective, CJC, are clients of the board chair's business. I, too, share that concern, and it appears from the CRTC's notice of consultation it wants to make sure the CJC is acting independently of Google and will protect the interests of the news businesses like mine, which will receive compensation. The board must be reconstituted to make it more representative of the industry at large and make it more competent with independent directors who have deep expertise in accounting and law. With $500 million at stake over 5 years, this has to be done properly and professionally. The CRTC needs to ensure the integrity of the Act and its regulations are honored to ensure compensation flows only to eligible news businesses based on the number of full-time equivalent employees. And from my perspective, an employee is someone who works for an employer regularly and receives a T4. Creating good jobs with benefits rather than gig jobs is something we should all want. Corrupting this process by massaging the eligibility criteria or not following the Act and the regulations will mean less funding for legitimate news organizations to maintain and grow permanent journalism jobs. Dave Adsett is the owner of the Wellington Advertiser and chair of News Media Canada.
Scugog Council to discuss MZO request for Port Perry development September 16th. Dan Kearns, The Standard. Scugog Council will further contemplate a request for a Minister Zoning Order, MZO, from Avenue Properties Corporation for a Port Perry development in September. The proposed development is located on lands east of Simcoe Street and south of Castle Harbour Drive. A report will come to Council for discussion at the September 16th meeting. In December 2023, Avenue Properties initially made a request to Council to consider a Community Infrastructure Housing Accelerator (CIHA) application. The Province of Ontario has, however, eliminated the CIHA program, and Avenue Properties has subsequently requested the Township to support an MZO, a Scugog Township press release explained. At a meeting in June, several members of the Scugog community spoke against the request. This included Rob Messervy from the Scugog Lake Stewards. I don't see the imperative, nor the benefit, nor the feasibility of an MZO to establish unit density at this development at this time, he said. The Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, MSIFN, also have concerns about the proposed development, which were included in a letter to Scugog Council. While we understand the township's desire to see more residential development in the community, this should not happen without extensive and meaningful consultation with MSIFN. A Community Infrastructure and Housing Accelerator order will significantly impact the exercise of our constitutionally protected Aboriginal and treaty rights. MSIFN and Ontario municipalities used to rely on technical reviews of projects like this from conservation authorities working under the Conservation Authorities Act. However, the province has removed conservation authorities from the planning and assessment process for these municipal development projects. This is the first major project both the Township and MSIFN are being asked to consider without the resources and technical expertise of Kawartha Conservation. We are concerned about the level of due diligence the Township has conducted to date with Avenue Properties, especially given the inability of Kawartha Conservation to review and comment on the proposal. Also concerning is the notice from Avenue Properties, March 15, 2024, It is refusing to fund MSIFN's cost for a third-party technical review of its technical work and reports, the letter stated. Though a letter from Andrew Bigart, representing Avenue Properties, stated the MZO will only be issued if the minister is satisfied that sufficient study has occurred to justify the requested zoning. Through the Provincial Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, an MZO can be issued to override certain planning procedures in order to move a development date closer. Lindsay's Emma Wright leads Canada's women's water polo team for 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. Daryl Knight, The Standard, Kawartha Lakes. Lindsay's Emma Wright has been named captain of Canada's women's water polo team for the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. The youngest of 4 siblings, her journey began as a student at Alexandra Public School, where she was introduced to water polo through her older siblings who played competitively in Toronto. Being too young to stay home alone, Emma was dragged along to the pool on a nightly basis before being thrown in kicking and screaming, recalled her mother, Wendy Wright. Despite her initial reluctance, Emma quickly proved her talent, often playing with older teammates and developing her skills. Emma's dedication to the sport grew over the years. Every night after school, the Wright family commuted from Lindsay to Toronto for practice, with sessions lasting 2 to 4 hours. Weekends were spent with teammates in Toronto for additional training. This rigorous schedule lasted for over 7 years, with both Emma and Wendy acknowledging the sacrifices made. Eating, sleeping, and doing homework in between practices, a lot of things given up and a lot of things gained, said Wendy. Emma's hard work paid off when she was selected for Canada's junior team for the World Championships in Italy. She made the senior team in 2013 at just 16 years old. She continued her studies on a full scholarship at the University of California, Berkeley, while always keeping her Olympic dream alive. The postponement of the 2020 Olympics due to COVID-19 was a setback, but training with her sister Claire, who was also on the national team, helped her stay motivated. In Tokyo 2021, the Wright sisters were part of the Canadian team which ended a 16-year Olympic absence, finishing in 7th place. It's just made the experience so much better. It was special to have Claire there because no one could have family travel with them, Emma recalled. Now, as the captain, Emma aims for a higher finish in Paris. Training for the Pan Am Games and World Championships, where they secured their Olympic spot, has been intense, with Emma dedicating up to 8 hours a day to her regimen. Emma attributes much of her success to her mother's unwavering support. For sure, I wouldn't be where I am today without my mom. I'm very thankful. She saw we loved it and she dedicated her time to it. As Emma leads the team to Paris, she continues to inspire with her resilience and determination. Region rejects idea for Sunderland stop sign. Daryl Knight, The Standard, Brock. At the Brock Township Council meeting on the morning of Monday, July 15th, a report from the Region of Durham was reviewed in response to a resolution adopted by Brock Council in March, which requested the installation of an all-way stop at the intersection of River Street, Regional Road 10, and Sunderland Meadow Drive. This measure aimed to slow down vehicular traffic entering the downtown corridor. In response, Region of Durham Works staff conducted a turning movement count on June 18, 2024, to record the number of vehicles and pedestrians traveling through the intersection. This count included vehicle trips in and out of the nearby fire station, despite its slight offset from Sunderland Meadows Drive. The all-way stop control installation is based on a detailed warrant process which evaluates safety and operational constraints. According to the report, the warrant process determined the intersection does not qualify for an all-way stop. The volumes of vehicles entering and exiting Sunderland Meadows Drive are minimal, and there has been no collision history at the intersection since its construction in 2017. Furthermore, the Ontario Traffic Manual, Book 5, specifies all-way stops should not be used as speed control devices or traffic calming tools. Although the intersection does not meet the criteria for an all-way stop, the Region of Durham has proposed several measures to address traffic safety and speed concerns. The current area-wide posted 40 km per hour speed limit will be extended just west of Sunderland Meadows Drive. To facilitate this speed reduction, a transition zone will be added, replacing sections of the current 50 km per hour and 80 km per hour zones with a posted 60 km per hour zone. This change aims to better reflect driving conditions and help transition drivers into and out of the 40 km per hour zone. Additionally, other measures such as radar feedback boards and automated speed enforcement cameras will be incorporated to help modify driver behavior. According to Ramesh Jagannathan, Durham's Commissioner of Works, these improvements are deemed adequate to enhance safety at this intersection at this time. The Council acknowledged the response and the proposed measures, emphasizing the importance of continued efforts to ensure road safety in the community.
Welcome to You've Got to Be Kidding, a podcast that offers a different perspective of life around us. Listen now to author Jonathan van Bilsen.
After 5 years and 60 episodes of my travel show, Photos and Travel, it has finally run its course. Although I've been to 107 countries, many of those adventures were before the age of high-definition television, which means my footage is not acceptable for today's TV market. Although new episodes will no longer be available, reruns on mainstream television will still be there, and through the marvels of social media, all episodes will always be available on YouTube at Jonathan van Bilsen's Photos and Travel. Creating the show every month has been a treat, in that I was able to spend an entire week recalling my adventures around the world. Watching the footage and photos brought back many forgotten locations and exploits, and writing the scripts was a great way to relive those experiences. From spending a week in the Galapagos Islands to walking the Great Wall of China, climbing the mountains around Machu Picchu to trekking along the Caspian Sea in Azerbaijan, every trip has been a very memorable adventure. Being able to share it with millions of viewers over 5 years has made the experience extra special. My plan, however, is not to stop producing. YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and the like have opened new possibilities. I've started a series of short videos focusing on specific destinations. These will be under the same brand as the show, and already they're receiving great reviews. Fortunately, my talk show, The Jonathan van Bilsen Show, has been renewed for Season 6 and will continue to introduce the world to compelling guests from Durham region. You may be interested to know the JVB show was a direct result of my monthly article, The Story Behind the Person, which appears in the Standard newspaper monthly. Episodes of that show are available on mainstream television. You can check local listings for dates and times. It's also available on the Standard newspaper website, on rogerstv.com, and on YouTube. They're also on my website, photosandtravel.com. I'd like to thank everyone involved in the show, especially the producers, the crew, the sponsors, the travel partners, and most of all, the viewers. Thank you for allowing me to share my travel adventures with you. I'm Jonathan van Bilsen, and this is You've Got to Be Kidding.
You've Got to Be Kidding was presented by X4 Media with permission from the Standard Media Group. We endeavor to make all information contained in this program as accurate as possible at production time. X4 Media and the Standard Media Group are not responsible for any liabilities resulting from information contained in this program. For more information, please visit x4media.ca.
The Standard Podcast was produced by Greenstream Studio for the Standard newspaper.